What do you call a stadium expansion so ambitious it was supposed to change an entire city, but ended up changing nothing at all? In 2019, Wolves unveiled a plan to turn Molineux into a 50,000-seat cathedral of football, a 10,000-strong single-tier South Bank, hotels next to the ground, and an entertainment district. 6 years later, not a single brick has been laid. The project was trapped between council delays, a family behind the Steve Bull stand who refused to sell their land, and a brutal Premier League reality. Wolves were hemorrhaging £100 million in losses just trying to stay up. By 2024, the mega project was quietly shelved, never officially cancelled, just forgotten. So what really killed the Molineux dream? And why are Wolves now back with a smaller, cheaper 40,000-seat plan that might actually work this time? Molineux emerged in 1889 as English football's very first purpose-built stadium, constructed on land once owned by merchant Benjamin Molineux, transforming his former pleasure grounds into a cathedral of football. This wasn't just any ground, it pioneered floodlight football in the 1950s, hosted European giants when continental competition was still a novelty, and packed in 61,000 screaming fans during Wolves' golden era. But just a few decades later, the place that symbolized English football's future became its warning sign. By the 1980s, Molineux had fallen apart. The terraces were unsafe, the roofs leaked, and crowds had dwindled. What followed was one of the darkest ownership sagas in British football. In 1982, the Bhatti brothers, two Saudi property developers, bought Wolves, promising investment and modernization. Instead, they stripped the club bare. Maintenance was ignored, the stadium decayed, and debts piled up. By 1986, Wolves had fallen to the 4th division. 3 of Molineux's 4 stands were closed for safety reasons, and the club's league license hung by a thread. The Bhattis quietly disappeared, leaving behind chaos and uncertainty. The club's only hope came from a shocking source: the city itself. Wolverhampton Council, backed by the West Midlands County Council, stepped in to buy the stadium and surrounding land to keep it from demolition. It was one of the most controversial rescues in English football history. Locals protested that taxpayers shouldn't be saving a failing club, but without that intervention, Wolves would have likely disappeared. The miracle arrived in 1990 when lifelong supporter and local businessman Sir Jack Hayward took control. He poured millions of his own money into rebuilding both the club and the ground. Between 1991 and 1993, Molineux was transformed from a crumbling relic into one of England's first modern all-seater stadiums, built in the spirit of the Taylor Report's safety revolution. 2 decades later, the transformation continued with the £18 million Stan Cullis stand, a sleek 2-tier design towering over Wolverhampton. But just as the stadium was evolving, the club was falling again, slipping back into the championship. Critics accused the board of focusing on bricks instead of football. Then, 2018 flipped everything. Wolves were back in the Premier League, backed by their ambitious Chinese owners, Fosun International, who had bought the club for £30 million 2 years earlier. Almost overnight, every match sold out, and season ticket waiting lists exploded past 2,500. Molineux, with its 32,000 seats, suddenly felt too small for the club Wolves had become. In February 2019, managing director Laurie Dalrymple revealed the plan that set social media on fire: a phased expansion to take Molineux to 50,000 seats, potentially the largest stadium in the Midlands. But this wasn't just about pride. Fosun had studied the brutal economics of the Premier League. Clubs like Arsenal and Tottenham were earning up to £4 million every home match, from corporate hospitality, premium seating, and executive boxes. Wolves, with their 1990s-era facilities, couldn't compete. If the club wanted to stay among the elite, the stadium itself had to evolve. But the real challenge wasn't money or design, it was Wolverhampton itself. Even at 32,000 capacity, the city's roads, parking, and transport system were already stretched to breaking point on match days. Adding 18,000 more people would push the infrastructure beyond its limits. Dalrymple admitted that the stadium's current size already placed huge pressure on the local area in terms of roads and transport. To make the project possible, Wolves needed a three-way partnership with Wolverhampton Council and the University of Wolverhampton, whose campus sits right next to the ground. But none of them wanted to pay for the 30 to 40 million pounds in road and transport improvements required. Negotiations dragged on for years. And just to make things worse, Wolves discovered that land behind the South Bank, vital for expansion, was owned by the collapsed construction giant Carillion, creating a legal maze that froze progress. Now, once again, Molineux stood on the edge of transformation, between its glorious past and an uncertain future. The same ground that pioneered floodlights and hosted legends now faced a new kind of test, whether history and ambition could coexist under one roof. Fosun didn't just hire an architect, they turned it into a full-blown competition, forcing multiple firms to battle for the Molineux transformation. The winning design wasn't a soulless modern bowl, it enhanced the existing stadium while injecting state-of-the-art facilities. Unlike Tottenham or Arsenal, who bulldozed and rebuilt, Wolves chose evolution over replacement, preserving history while embracing the future. The overall plan would take Molineux from 32,000 to around 40,000 seats, adding roughly 8,000 fans while keeping the stadium's character intact. The Steve Bull stand became more than extra seats. It was a revenue engine. Multiple levels of corporate hospitality, pitch view boxes, conference spaces, premium restaurants, and networking lounges meant the stadium could earn millions beyond ticket sales, keeping Wolves competitive in the Premier League's financial arms race. The real showstopper? The single-tier South Bank. Imagine 10,000 fans stacked vertically from pitch to roof in one uninterrupted wall. No dividing tiers, no executive boxes fragmenting the noise, just pure, concentrated fan power. Acoustics were designed to intimidate. When every supporter roars together, the sound is physically oppressive. Tottenham proved the effect, and Wolves aimed for the same psychological advantage. Filling the corners was equally clever, adding 4,000 flexible seats that could switch between safe standing, standard seating, or premium areas depending on the match, creating a cauldron-like atmosphere where visiting teams feel completely surrounded. Safe standing itself was revolutionary. In 2019, Wolves became the first Premier League club to install barrier seating across an entire stand. Expansion could create England's largest safe standing section, blending atmosphere with safety. Technology transformed Molineux into a connected stadium with Wi-Fi capable of 30,000 plus devices, massive LED screens, and concourses designed for experiences, from traditional pies to international cuisine, interactive museum exhibits, and family zones. And beyond the stadium, the ambitious Molineux Quarter plan envisioned hotels within sight of the ground, restaurants and pubs creating a 7-day destination. Molineux wouldn't just be a stadium, it was set to become Wolverhampton's beating commercial heart and cementing the club at the city's center. But while the vision dazzled, turning these plans into reality proved far more complicated, with financial, legal, and logistical challenges waiting behind every corner. For years, Wolves fans believed they were on the brink of something historic. In 2019, the club unveiled glittering renderings of a transformed Molineux, a futuristic 50,000-seat stadium with sleek corners, expanded stands, and corporate facilities rivaling any Premier League giant. Fosun, the Chinese owners, promised construction would begin in 2020. Supporters were buzzing. This felt like the dawn of a new era. Then reality hit hard. When 2020 arrived, nothing happened. No cranes, no demolition. COVID-19 became the easy scapegoat, but the pandemic didn't kill the project. It merely exposed the cracks beneath the glittering plans. Behind the scenes, the full-scale rebuild had never been financially viable. Internal calculations showed that a 50,000-seat stadium would take 30 to 40 years to generate a return, far too long for owners seeking quicker profits. By 2021, 3 years of ongoing talks and close working relationships had produced only a modest 500-seat temporary stand. Fans mocked it mercilessly, suggesting they could have left it as an empty hill and saved millions. Leaked documents revealed that Fosun had quietly scrapped the ambitious demolition and rebuild strategy. The promised dream of a 50,000-seat fortress had quietly died, replaced by patchwork modifications and small tweaks to existing stands. The saga became even more complicated thanks to land and infrastructure battles. Behind the South Bank, essential land for expansion remains tied up in the liquidation of Carillion, one of Britain's largest corporate collapses. Negotiations dragged on for years, stuck in creditors and red tape. Meanwhile, around 20,000 of Molineux's 32,000 fans drive to matches, increasing capacity without upgrading Wolverhampton's roads, parking, and transport links would create gridlock chaos. The council publicly supported the expansion but offered no funding. Their solution? Partnership working, essentially leaving Wolves to foot the massive infrastructure bill themselves. History loomed over every decision. Wolves had been here before. In the late 1970s, Chairman Harry Marshall spent millions modernizing Molineux while splashing cash on record signing Andy Gray. Within 4 years, debts spiraled out of control. By 1982, the club went bankrupt. Between 1984 and 1986, Wolves suffered 3 successive relegations, ultimately falling to Division 4. The financial caution wasn't unique to Wolves. Officials closely watched Everton's Bramley Moore Dock Stadium project, which ballooned from a £500 million budget to over £800 million, nearly causing financial disaster and multiple points deductions. Lessons were clear. One wrong step on a stadium gamble could cripple a club. Then, summer 2025 brought another shock. Chairman Jeff Shee, on the Business of Sport podcast, dismissed the 50,000-seat dream with chilling indifference. Molineux is not a bad stadium. Maybe 35 or 40,000 is the max for the city, but it's not urgent. Fans erupted. 6 years of anticipation, award-winning renderings, and season ticket waiting lists had seemingly meant nothing. The 50,000-seat vision had died, not due to planning battles or legal challenges, but in a spreadsheet where 30-year returns couldn't justify the investment. Yet the story didn't end there. Wolves began quietly revisiting expansion in 2025, but with a more realistic 40,000 capacity plan. The focus is on modernizing the Steve Bull stand and expanding hospitality, all while keeping Molineux's historic character intact. The club is pursuing phased construction, adding seats and facilities gradually to manage costs, adapt to infrastructure limits, and avoid repeating past mistakes. For fans, the phased plan makes the expansion tangible and real. Each stage brings visible improvements, new seats, upgraded stands, better hospitality that can be experienced immediately. But while the vision is clear, the biggest challenge remains: how to finance it, and how Wolves will fund this ambitious evolution without risking the club's stability. The financial reality meant that the original 50,000-seat plan was unviable. By 2025, a full-scale rebuild, including infrastructure upgrades, could have cost £100 to £120 million. Fosun's investment philosophy, focused on measurable short-term returns, made a massive long-term stadium gamble impossible. Spending £100 million on seats and hospitality might generate modest returns over decades, but the same funds could strengthen the squad immediately, improving Premier League survival and club value. Other funding avenues remain limited. Wolverhampton Council has no budget for roads or transport improvements. The University of Wolverhampton contributes nothing, and private investors are cautious about uncertain returns in a mid-sized city. Premier League profitability rules further restrict how much owners can inject, preventing open-ended spending. Attendance figures reinforce caution. Wolves rarely exceed 31,000 fans, even in a 32,000-seat stadium, and previous championship campaigns saw attendance drop to 21,000. Expanding too quickly risks empty seats and financial losses. So how will Wolves fund the new 40,000 capacity phased expansion? The approach is pragmatic. Rather than relying on one massive upfront investment, the club will fund each stage incrementally. Revenue from season tickets, corporate hospitality, and match day income will be reinvested directly into construction sponsorship deals. Premium seating and phased commercial partnerships will also contribute. This staged approach allows the club to avoid crippling debt, adapt to ongoing infrastructure limitations, and manage costs while fans see visible progress. For Wolves supporters, this is more than just a financial strategy. It's a roadmap for sustainable growth. Molineux is no longer a frozen dream but a living project, and balancing ambition with realism. What do you think the future of Molineux should look like? Will Wolves manage to complete this phased expansion successfully, or will history repeat itself? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories behind football's most ambitious stadium projects.